My name is Melinda Crawford. I am 34 years old and I live in Bristol, Virginia. For the past few years, I worked in the legal department of a company that handled sensitive paperwork and high-stakes cases. I always prided myself on being diligent, precise, and professional. I was that person who stayed late to make sure nothing was left undone, who triple-checked every detail because, in my mind, the stakes were always high, and mistakes could cost careers or even lives. I loved my job, but something in my workplace made every day feel like walking on dangerous ice. You see, there was this coworker named Laurie, but everyone called her the Tick, a nickname she somehow earned for being toxic and impossible to shake off. She was not a manager, but she acted like she controlled the department with an iron fist wrapped in litigation threats. Her insecurities ran deep, and she masked that by acting like the queen of the office, scripting every meeting and interaction so that she was always the one on top. Speak, you listen. Command, you obey. It was as if we were her army, except she had no official power, just the cunning to manipulate management into siding with her every time she threatened to sue or file complaints. Her bad behavior became legendary. She would accuse people of taking too long on their coffee or lunch breaks. I am talking about minutes, like 16 minutes on coffee or 46 on lunch, and she would report it like she was a corporate cop. When she was promoted, or rather assigned a role overseeing crucial paperwork, she went on a rampage. If you did not grovel or kiss her ring, your paperwork would mysteriously get stuck or rejected. She earned a dreadful reputation as Conan the Grammarian, berating people publicly about grammar mistakes nobody else cared for. 3 spaces after a period or 2 spaces after a comma were crimes in her eyes. Her favorite game was to pit coworkers against each other by whispering lies and watching the chaos unfold. Another section of the office called her the Eye of Sauron because she watched everyone trying to find a weakness to exploit. I watched this all happen and tried to keep my head down, but I still got caught in her storm. My breaking point came when she approached me one day and said in her usual haughty tone, "Stop working on that legal file. You work for me now." I was handling an important case, and she just tried to commandeer my work, treating me as her personal assistant or worse, her gopher. We argued back and forth until I finally told her if the head attorney approved that I would no longer be responsible for the case's outcome, only then would I be hers to command. Of course, I knew that approval would never come. That was the moment she declared war on me. She made sure my paperwork was always delayed, constantly finding minor errors to publicly berate me for. For almost 2 years, I endured her endless harassment. I felt trapped. But there is always a turning point in these stories, and mine came because of a quarterly physical qualification test we had to complete 4 times a year. The test was a big deal, and I was put in charge of organizing it. The Tick had always been terrible at this test, barely scraping by with excuses and bad performances. One day, I walked up to her at her desk with a cold grin and said, "So you want to play this game? Okay, let us play." At the qualification event, I stood behind her and started mimicking her style, berating her like she did to others. "Are you trying to fail? What is your major malfunction?" I shouted, aiming to make her squirm. Then I took it a step further and used the public address system to call out exclusively her name, directing all those who failed to meet me immediately for retraining. Of course, she was the only one crawling up to the tower to get chewed out. The officers heard my dismissive wave and loud announcement, "We have a problem with an employee," mimicking her own dramatic entrances to management. And just like that, her harassment stopped against me. The tables had turned. But she was not defeated yet. Instead, she targeted others until one day she completely lost it, refusing to move an important case forward. She made up convoluted rules to justify her actions and screamed at the head of the office when confronted. Within minutes, she was stripped of her position and reduced to clerical duties. When her replacement took over, the entire department breathed a sigh of relief. During an all-hands meeting, we made sure to loudly praise the new leadership, declaring, "It was so toxic before. What a difference now." Laurie, standing nearby at the snack table, dramatically threw down her bagel and stormed out, never to be seen again. Just before she left, they played a video on the screen at the exit showing an image of the Eye of Sauron crumbling to dust as she walked past. It was a poetic ending to a toxic chapter in our lives. Now the office felt lighter, freer from the dark shadow she had cast over us. I learned through this ordeal that even the most entrenched toxicity can be challenged and toppled, sometimes by using their own weapons against them. My world had been shaken, but I stood taller in the end. The Tick may have tried to control me, but I became the one who controlled the narrative, and I will never let anyone make me feel small again.